Happy Saturday, EduSoulmate family. I'm so glad to have the opportunity to chat with you this morning. I guess it's not really a chat if I'm just the one talking about morning meeting. And this is really more K-5 focused, but I have seen and heard of middle grades teachers doing morning meeting. And it kind of takes a different shape because, middle school kids aren't in, they're in homeroom, 10 or 15 minutes, and maybe that's not really enough time to do morning meeting. And middle school kids have a different need set during morning meeting. But one of the reasons I adore morning meeting is it's first thing in the morning, brains are fresh, ready to go. It is typically when I have the most attendance as a remote teacher is that first meeting in the morning. It gives me a chance to connect with my kids, to check in on them every day. And it also gives me a chance to do some instruction. And I kind of sneak it in there and make it fun. So I am teaching first grade 100% remote. I currently have 19 students, and most days I have between 13 and 14 of my students log into morning meeting, which I feel like is pretty good for first graders. They absolutely adore seeing each other. They love being there. They are happy and enthusiastic. Not always on Monday mornings. Sometimes they're a little sleepy, but it's really just a good time for us to really talk to each other. I always open my morning meeting Zoom about 7 or 8 minutes before it's technically supposed to start. And when they come in, it's almost like being at the door of your classroom, greeting students by name as they come in. As I admit them into the Zoom meeting, I always make sure that I greet each one by name. To me, that's super important. Sometimes our kids come from not so great situations, and maybe they're not called by their name. Maybe they're called something awful and horrible, and, maybe they're in a situation where they've not heard their name in a nice tone, and they've not heard somebody excited to see them all day long, or after they talked to you the day before, they didn't have anybody else speak to them pleasantly until they come back in your morning meeting the next morning. So that's really a big deal for me, is to make sure that, good morning, and I call their name. And it's really one of my key pieces of making that connection with students. And even if it's a kid that I'm not really that excited to see, maybe they are a hot mess in Zooms, I still act like I'm excited. So I wanted to take you through, I have a slideshow that kind of helps me stay organized for morning meeting. Much like you would have in the classroom, you might would have your easel with your morning message written up there. You'd have your calendar, you'd have your number of the day stuff, you might have your sight words written somewhere, and you'd call them all to the carpet and you'd have your morning meeting. Well, you can't call them to the carpet. So I have this slide deck, and this is not an original idea. I've seen this done many, many other places, but I have customized, personalized my own slide deck. So we start every day with a message, and this is actually my slide deck for next week. And I put my Bitmoji on there, and I change my outfit every week. I know, that's like extra, but I just do because, I want the kids to know that I care. And they really like to see some of the interesting Bitmojis that I come up with. Last week, one of the Bitmojis I used was me as a pig rolling around in the mud, and they thought that was just utterly hilarious. Miss Rouse, you're a pig! So you can have some fun with that. Sometimes I'll have kids who want to read this, and they'll just start reading it to themselves because they're first graders and they're learning how to read. But most of the time, even if I have someone who's read it, I repeat it and read it for everybody. And I go through, you can kind of see in my message, I kind of give them an idea of what our week is going to look like. This week we'll read lots of fun Halloween stories and learn to addition. And then I tell them what their specials assignment is for the day. And then we start with a song. And sometimes it's a fun song, especially on Fridays. There's a freeze dance song that they just adore. And sometimes it's a learning song. So this is an addition fact review. We've been working really hard with addition over the past month. And so we do an addition fact review, and that's Jack Hartman. And if you are an elementary school teacher and you don't know who Jack Hartman is, you may be living under a rock. He has a song for everything. I mean, literally everything. And they're kid appropriate. So, matter of fact, now, like when the intro comes on, my kids like have started they've gotten a little tired of Jack, and they'll roll their eyes. Miss Mouse, not another Jack Hartman song. So last week I had to have the conversation with them of, I know that you guys are not that crazy about Mr. Jack, but he's got a lot of good songs, so we're just gonna keep using him. So we do our little song. They sing along, they dance along. It's a crazy fun time. Then we have our calendar, and I sing a lot with them, and they don't care if you're a good singer. They like music. They like to see you be silly too. And so I'm always like, calendar, calendar, calendar time, it's calendar time, it's calendar time. Sing them a little song. We go through, the day. What is today? We go through, and that happens during morning meeting too. I slide to the wrong slide. We go through these numbers, and this has been a really great opportunity for me to teach ordinal numbers, because kids are really good with cardinal numbers in first grade, and they'll say, it's Monday, October the 26th, or it's Wednesday, October the 21st. That's what they told me the other day, and so I have to take the time, it's the 21st. Think about if you're the first person in line. You wouldn't say, I'm the one in line. You would say, I'm the first in line. So calendar math is really kind of an important skill that kids need to know. We talk about the weather. We talk about the season. And the season kind of gets boring unless the season's fixing to change. The other day we had to have a conversation about cool versus cold, those kinds of things. They still do get a little mixed up on the days of the week, but we're working on it. But this is an important piece, especially in first grade. Not so much for older grades, but in first grade, this is huge. The next thing we do is we play a listening game. They think it's the coolest thing ever, and it's my way to sneak in phonemic awareness. I use the Hello, 2 Peas in a Pod phonemic awareness kit. Jen Jones of Hello Literacy. And then she collaborated with someone. But if you go to Teachers Pay Teachers and search Hello 2 Peas in a Pod phonemic awareness, you will find it. And it's a really good kit. It's got the activities pre-made with the words. And we're working really hard right now on blending phonemes, blending sounds together. And it's really kind of difficult to teach phonics remotely, because Zoom doesn't always give us all the sounds. So I get really close to my camera, like I am right now. And if I know they're having trouble hearing me, I'll tell them, watch Miss Rouse's mouth. Look at how her mouth moves. Look at what sound that would be. How does her mouth move to make that sound, especially if they're having a hard time hearing. I also have a specialized microphone. I don't always rely on the microphone in my computer. If they're really struggling, I have an external mic that I will plug in and sometimes use, and that has helped some. But it's kind of a tough thing to do. This is new for us this week. We're going to be doing spelling words. You can see they are all long O words with an E. That's our spelling pattern this week. We will play around with these. I'll get different kids to spell them for us, that kind of thing. Then we talk about what day it is. It's day 51, and we have it on the hundreds board. I will probably start doing 10 more, 10 less, 1 more, 1 less with them, because we just finished that concept in math. So again, another time for me to teach. We do number of the day. This is just a random number that I pick. And I make them show me how many of each thing. So I'll say, and I don't always do it in order. I try to trick them up sometimes. I'll say, okay, everybody, show me on your fingers. How many 5s should I put? And I'm looking in my camera. I'm looking, to see that they've all got 5 up. Or, okay, everybody, how many hundreds do I have? How many hundreds do I need? And I'm looking for them to give me a 2. And this is probably a great time for me to say, and I should have said this at the beginning, I have 2 monitors. I use my laptop, and then I have another monitor that I plug in. So I have this presentation, my morning meeting presentation, on one monitor. And then I have my Zoom on my laptop. And I'm screen sharing, but I keep my kids in a grid and I expand the window out so I can still see all of them at one time while I'm, asking them to respond. So I'm not having to hit that little button and scroll through, and I can see all of them together while they're responding to me. And that has been an enormous help because having to scroll through up and down was making me crazy. So I really, it's actually an old TV that my mom and dad had that they gave me. It had an HDMI plug-in. I bought an HDMI adapter for my MacBook, and I just plug it in and use it as a secondary monitor. And it works really great for that purpose. So we do number of the day. Then we do another song. You can see we're practicing the letter O. And then I always do a themed question. So Monday, whatever Monday it is, it always starts with an M. Like one time it was Milkshake Monday. Last week with the pig in the mud, it was Muddy Monday. Do you like to play in the mud? So this week, because it's Halloween, what makes monsters so scary? Be ready to explain your thinking. One of the biggest things that I push for them is the ability to use the word because. And they pick on me, Miss Rouse, that's your favorite word, because. I don't let them just give me a one-word answer. What makes monsters so scary? They're big. Okay, tell me why. That kind of thing. And it's just a skill that they need to have. So I'm not going to, I'll scroll through it. There's one with me on a dinosaur. They'll think that's great for Tuesday. Um, you know, we do counting skills. I even pull out the old school Ralphie and do apples and bananas. They adore this song. And it's perfect for long vowel practice. They just think this is just great. And this week I've also added in on this last one here, this last slide where I question them. I've added in a different Halloween dance video for every day, just because I'm trying to, liven things up a little bit because it's Halloween. Sometimes with these questions that I have at the end, sometimes I do different things. Sometimes I let them raise their hand, and I'll say, okay, I'm going to choose 4 people and I'm only going to do 4, and I'll just pick from whose hands are raised. Sometimes I'll let them all share. I just go through my little Zoom windows and I let them all share. Sometimes I have them provide nonverbal feedback. Last week, one of the questions was about toppings on your pizza. And so I said, okay, I'm just going to call out toppings that you like on a pizza. And if you like that topping, give me a thumbs up. And if you don't like that topping, give me a thumbs down. So it doesn't always have to be verbal feedback, but it kind of helps them build community. It helps you get to know them better. Let's see. There's some more stuff. I mean, like, it's the same pattern. It's the same pattern every time. I try to pick songs that I know they like. They love Blazer Fresh from Go Noodle. So I try to find some different things. This is Clap It Out, and it's a syllable song. It's about syllables. If you're not familiar with Go Noodle, it is absolutely wonderful. Wednesday is always Would You Rather Wednesday. Here's another Blazer Fresh song, Banana Banana Meatball. They beg for this song, and it's great for teaching patterns. Thursday is always 3 Things Thursday. And this week it's what are 3 things you like to do at a party? So I have a theme for each week. Friday, we will have our Halloween party. I found them a Halloween freeze dance. They think, they'll think that's great. But I try to, keep it exciting and engaging. All of this lasts for us about 30 minutes. Sometimes on Wednesdays, because on Wednesdays we only do morning meeting, we don't have any other live synchronous class meetings on Wednesdays like we do the other days. Sometimes I extend morning meeting a little bit and throw a little bit of extra instruction in there, especially if I see that they're struggling with the math concept that week. I'll throw in some extra math instruction during morning meeting. But I don't always do that. But it usually runs about 30 minutes for us. And they seem to enjoy it. But I also wanted to talk about, and I'm just going to leave this up here, I wanted to talk about the power of making connections with your kids. I went and did some home visits. Well, you're watching this and it's Saturday morning, but I'm recording this on Friday night. I went and did some home visits today, and it was eye-opening. And I will tell you, if you don't teach in the community, let me start over. If you don't live in the community where you teach, and I don't, I live about 30 minutes away. Pick a couple of your kids' addresses one day and just go drive by their house. You don't have to stop. You don't have to, make it a point, especially your kids that are struggling in class, the ones that don't turn their stuff in. Go drive by their house and see what it looks like and see where they live. And it can be so eye-opening about the conditions that they live in, and where they live and what they're dealing with on a daily basis. It is one of the most powerful things I think I've ever done as a teacher was those home visits that I went on today. To be able to see, no wonder this little one can't focus because this house is crazy. And I was also pleasantly surprised in some cases too. Houses that I thought would be in much worse condition were actually in pretty good shape. But making those connections, allowing students time during their live lessons. And I know we feel rushed and we feel like things are so crammed and jam-packed and we got to get this in and we got to get this in and we got to get this in. But we've got to give our kids time to talk to each other and to talk to us and for us to talk to them, just like we would in the classroom full time if they were with us all day, every day, like they normally are in a normal year. We build those relationships, we build those connections by talking, by sharing tidbits about ourselves, and by letting the kids talk about themselves and things that they've done. That is something that we do. We still have to allow for those connections to happen. I think about in particular, I have two little boys in my class. One is incredibly friendly, the other one is not. But they are in the same reading group together. And every single day, the friendly little boy, when the other little boy comes into our reading group meeting and I greet him, the other little boy greets him as well and always says, "I'm so glad to see you," or "Are you having a good day?" It's almost like he recognizes that this little boy needs a friend, just like he would if we were at school and he might see him on the playground. He recognizes that. And so he's reaching out through Zoom in our reading group. And I could be the kind of teacher that is like, "Oh, we're only going to do, we're only going to do the lesson." I can't be that way. These kids have not been in a school building since March. They've not seen some of their friends and their peers since March. And I feel like I, have a duty to them almost to allow them to continue to make those human connections with each other and with me. The other day, I can't even remember what it was. I dropped something during morning meeting. I can't remember. I dropped something, my pen or my pencil on the floor or something, and without even really thinking about the camera being on, I just ducked down to get it and I disappeared for a minute. And my class was like, "Oh my gosh, Miss Rouse, where did you go?" Because they were worried. They were concerned about me. Because we've taken the time to make those connections and to build a little relationship and to build a little family. You can still do that too. But, I feel like I've just been rambling for a little while, but this is really something that's important to me. I hope this presentation or this video has been helpful to you in thinking about morning meeting and its importance and how you can still do a morning meeting even remotely. And you could even do these techniques if you're in a hybrid situation, socially distanced. You could still have a morning meeting slideshow that you present in your classroom and do morning meeting since we can't all come to the carpet because of social distancing. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our EduSoulmates channel so you can get updates every time we post a Saturday session. And don't forget to find us on Facebook and invite your EduSoulmate to join us. Have a great day. Bye.